When it comes to spending money in sports, that doesn't necessarily guarantee success, but it certainly increases your odds. And the Marlins saw that firsthand against the mighty Dodgers.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for almost 3 years now. You can find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And on today's show, I'm going to talk about the Marlins and the Dodgers series, money talks. And the Dodgers have a ton of money invested in their roster, and it showed. Their talent showed in this series as they completely outclassed the Miami Marlins and swept them 3-0. But I'm also going to talk about the Marlins hitting this season. It's been a very pleasant surprise. Do a deep dive into the numbers, what's gone right, what's gone wrong, and then, of course, talk about the Marlins pitching staff. It's been an absolute nightmare all the way across the board, starters and the bullpen. It's been their Achilles heel. Talk about that, and also the new City Connects, which will debut this weekend against the Athletics. Let you guys know my thoughts on it, and let me know your thoughts as well in the comment section. Money doesn't guarantee a championship. We've seen this story before. Teams go out, they spend a ton on their payroll, and they fall short. But they usually are competitive. And in baseball in particular, when there's no salary cap, the talent difference between one of the teams that has a super high payroll and a small market team, a team that doesn't spend money like the Marlins, the chances of seeing some blowouts are incredibly high. And that's what we saw. I knew this series was going to be tough. I didn't have high expectations for the Dodgers series. The Dodgers are a really good team. On paper, they're one of the best teams ever. And I'm not sitting here to praise the Dodgers and think they're the be-all, end-all when it comes to baseball. They still have a lot of work to do. They're not guaranteed a world championship again. But they certainly showed their talent. And it showed the gap that the Marlins have to close in order to become anything remotely close to a threat in the next few years. And the Marlins will never spend the type of money the Dodgers have. But they can't continue to spend as little money as they have been also. It's both sides of the equation here. Yes, the Dodgers are grossly paying everybody on their roster. Tanner Scott, former Marlins, $70+ million contract. Shohei Ohtani is pretty much making $1 billion over the next decade. It's insane. But the Marlins have to do something in the next few years. We talk about a salary cap. We talk about a salary floor. And there's no guarantee of any of that happening. That's a huge process. But you need to keep your talent. You can't let your talent walk. And that's where the Marlins can take advantage of the fact that they do have some young talent. And they can't let these guys walk away to go sign big free agent deals like to the Dodgers or to the Yankees, for example, or even the division rival Mets. It was a tough series to digest apart from that first game, which really, even though it was in a loss, was one of my favorite games of the season. Just the sheer excitement I had watching it, the Dane Myers grand slam, the way the bullpen stepped up when they needed to for the last 4 or 5 innings. But then the last 2 games were completely forgettable. And in all honesty, that final game on Wednesday night, or Wednesday, it was a matinee, it was during the day, that afternoon game, I fell asleep. I took a nap and I woke up, turned on the TV, and the Dodgers were blowing out the Marlins. Didn't necessarily surprise me. The Marlins have a couple players who should be Marlins for a long time, though, and they should be locked up financially. Bruce Sherman, as an owner, I have my gripes about him. If you've listened to the podcast, you know I want Bruce to spend more money into the roster, reinvest money with free agent talent or extensions to young players. And that's what I think the segment of Money Talks, if you're watching on YouTube, you see I have it on the rundown here. It shows a sense of confidence in your team and the player, and also loyalty to the fan base. The Dodgers can spend whatever they want without a second thought. That's not the Marlins' MO. It's never going to be the Marlins' MO. But what they can do is they can reinvest money into the talent that they have. And whether that's this year or the following year, it would make me feel a lot better as a fan and the trajectory of this team if I see an extension to a player like Agustin Ramirez or Max Meyer or Kyle Stowers if he continues this, who let's take a step back and just say he had a career game in the blowout loss on Wednesday. He went 4 for 4 with 2 home runs and was a triple shy of the cycle. His OPS is over 900. He's hitting .323 on the year. A complete career turnaround and resurgence from a player that had been written off by the Baltimore Orioles, who had been written off by a lot of Marlins fans this offseason. He was never going to figure it out. He's figured it out. And he is somebody that the Marlins can look at and identify as part of a building block, a cornerstone player for their future. The whole deal with arbitration and pre-arbitration in the major leagues, teams have a lot of control over their players for multiple years in Major League Baseball. But what you see a lot of teams do is buy out those arbitration years and lock the players up long-term for a team-friendly deal that is still providing security, financial security to the player and their families. The Red Sox is a really good example of that, signing Christian Campbell, who just made his Major League debut, much like Agustin Ramirez. He just made his debut, and they locked him up for an 8-year deal. I believe it was worth $60 million. It's faith in the player, faith in what the team is building, and that player is going to be a part of it and a part of World Series contending teams. That is the statement that the Red Sox are making to their fan base. That's what I think the Marlins should do. When it comes to spending money, in order to close the gap with the big dogs of Major League Baseball, keep your young talent in-house with team-friendly deals, multiple extensions, and then supplement those team-friendly deals with free agents. Not just Cal Quantrill, not just Tim Anderson. Go out and sign another free agent or two for the next couple years who can be a part of this next Marlins playoff team. I mean, that's the goal, right? We want to see this team make the playoffs. The Marlins have a manager who has a World Series ring. You don't think the players see that and say, I want one too? Kyle Stowers, Agustin Ramirez, look at Clayton McCullough. They see the ceremony pregame a couple nights ago and say, man, that's going to be awesome to have one of those rings one day. Absolutely. And the Marlins can build towards that. It's in incremental steps. And what they do is to be determined the rest of the season. We don't know if there's going to be a player extended. We don't know if they've ever had contract extension talks with somebody like Yuri Perez, who is another prime candidate to be extended at some point, whether this year or the next. But it's a good first step. because they're starting to establish a core. There's plenty of talent coming up through the minor leagues. There's going to be more talent injected into the system via trade, via the amateur draft coming up in a couple months. Peter Bendix is handcuffed to a degree with with the financial constraints that Bruce Sherman puts on him and the payroll. But I would like to see the way that Peter Bendix has already made this farm system respectable and has already won a couple trades. I think the Augustine Ramirez Jazz Chisholm trade is certainly looking good for the Marlins. The Trevor Rogers trade, he absolutely fleeced the Baltimore Orioles. We will see what happens with Davison De Los Santos when he makes his major league debut, hopefully this season. But give him some money to yes, lock up the talent you have right now and also spend in free agency. 2-3 deals, maybe $50-60 million. In the next calendar year, we're going to learn a lot more about the Marlins' future and whether they can get a plan together to accelerate this rebuild and bring a competitive team to South Florida sooner rather than later. The good news for the Marlins has been the hitting. This season, the Marlins have turned a laughable offense from a year ago at times. Like some of the lineups they rolled out last season were just atrocious. And they've made some smart, savvy moves. And they have some real guys in-house that provide some serious talent to this lineup. And it's showing up in the stat sheet. I'm going to do a deep dive into how this lineup has been right after this. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. Do you already have a console? A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your games or your kids' games or whatever, wherever you want, so you can play literally whenever. So, for example, if you want to go to a baseball game and let's say you want to go to Wrigley Field, you've never been, you plan your trip and you say, you know what, I want to play some Xbox games, but I don't have my console. That's where the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K device comes in. Head to Amazon.com/FireTV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. If you're an everyday listener, thank you for being a part of the Locked On Marlins crew. And if this is your first episode, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any other future episodes. And I am talking about the Marlins hitting, because in spring training, I will be honest, I didn't think this lineup was going to do much at all this season. I thought it was going to be bottom of the barrel in pretty much every major category when it comes to swinging the bats. And that hasn't been the case. It's been a very pleasant surprise for the Marlins. Offensively, check this out. They are 5th in batting average right now. So they are putting the bat on the ball and they're getting base hits. They're hitting .255 as a team through 29 games. So pretty much through the first month of the season, which has been a complete gauntlet of a schedule as well. They face some really good teams with really good pitching staffs. So the fact that they are 5th, right behind the Yankees, Cubs, Cardinals, and Padres, is really encouraging. As if you're hitting the ball and you're putting the ball in play and you're getting base hits, it's always a good thing, right? The issue for the Marlins has been the power. They're not a power hitting team right now. Only 25 home runs, which is 20th in Major League Baseball right now. And with a couple of other slow starting teams, they'll probably continue to drop in that category. The Marlins don't really have a set power bat that they play every single day. Matt Mervis has been the biggest power threat, but he really has a low average. He'll strike out a lot, and it's a very streaky profile. I still like Matt Mervis because when he gets hot, he's absolutely scorching hot and can hit the ball out of the ballpark on any given night, any given at-bat. But Agustin Ramirez was a huge call-up for this team. I think that his power already has been shown, already has 3 home runs in the major leagues, is going to be a huge boost to this lineup to supplement the base hits that they're already getting and get some more slug in this lineup. Still waiting for Jesus Sanchez to get going. He's one of my favorite players, by the way. Jesus Sanchez, look, when it comes to being a fan, and I know a lot of people watching or listening are going to say, oh, get rid of Jesus Sanchez. And I don't necessarily know if he's a part of the future of this team, given his age and the talent that they have in the outfield. I think it's a lot more easier to envision him staying the majority of the season with the injury to Griffin Conine. But Jesus Sanchez is just fun to watch. He's got a good attitude out there, and he plays the game the right way. He has fun playing the game. Even though he'll make a mistake or two, I love watching him play. I think he brings joy to the clubhouse and joy to the game of baseball. So I want to put that out there. But we're waiting for him to get going because he has a serious power to his swing. So I'd like to see Sanchez add to the power. I'd like to see Connor Norby, who publicly said, I want to hit for 30 home runs this season. He believes it. He believes he has what it takes. Let's see that happen. Let's see Connor Norby tap into that power potential that he has. I really like him as a player. I think he's a really good hitter. He's going to hit a lot of doubles and hopefully provide some more home runs as the season continues. I want to see the Marlins, though, walk a little bit more. That was an emphasis in spring training. They really wanted to draw out their at-bats, provide good at-bats at the plate. They don't want to give away their ABs. And we saw a ton of walks in spring training that really hasn't translated so far to the regular season. Their batting average is still high. It's 255. It's good. That's good. But they've only drawn 87 walks. That's 25th in Major League Baseball right now. And you couple that with a lot of swing and miss at times. They're gonna have their nights where they strike out a lot and they get overmatched. I want to see those walks increase, and overall, a couple players who have been struggling, I think, can really affect this lineup in a positive way. Otto Lopez, he's like a 70 OPS plus hitter right now. He's struggling. There's no other way to put it. But Otto Lopez is somebody who historically throughout his career has had a really good eye at the plate, a really good swing. His ceiling is somewhat limited for power, but he'll hit for a good average. Really hasn't been the case this season. He's only hitting 236. Hopefully, though, with the good defense, it's just the first month of the season. Slow starts happen. So Otto Lopez and Xavier Edwards as well. Both those guys, if they heat up, it's only going to provide more value to this offense. But overall, this lineup has been a really pleasant surprise. I'm not going to complain about it. If you're 5th in batting average, and some people were saying this was the worst lineup constructed in the Bruce Sherman era, and I myself thought it was a really bad lineup on paper, you're doing something right. Players are achieving, players are competing, and they're having good ABs. The Achilles heel, however, for this team has been the pitching staff. And that especially showed up in this series against the Dodgers when they gave up a ton of runs. It was a dismal showing for for Marlins pitchers in this series. I'm going to talk about how bad it really has been and if there's anything that can be fixed. If this is just going to be the story of the season, I think it can get better. I'm going to talk about that coming up right after this. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set your goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. It's that easy collaboration. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, do me a favor, make sure you're subscribed real quick. But if you're away from YouTube and you're listening to the show, remember, you can always find us on any podcast platform out there. Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, you name it. So if you're on the go, you just can't get to YouTube and watch us, you can listen. The Achilles heel for the Marlins has been the pitching staff. It's been awful. There's really no way to sugarcoat this. And it's unfortunate because pitching has always been a strength traditionally for the Marlins. But when you factor in a couple really big injuries to the starters and also the bullpen, it culminates in a disaster when players also underachieve, like Sandy Alcantara, who's supposed to be your ace and is pitching anything like that. He's not pitching anything like that. It's the complete opposite. I think the Marlins pitching can get better, but they're going to have reinforcements, especially in the rotation. I don't think there's a scenario in which you can justify running out Connor Gillespie, Edward Cabrera, and Cal Quantrill and just expect success to happen. That's not going to work. Luckily for the Fish, Ryan Weathers is very soon to return. Yuri Perez also going to return in a month or two. Both those guys, really, really talented pitchers. They will slot in, and yeah, they might have innings limits and ease into the rotation, but talent-wise, miles ahead of Cal Quantrill and Connor Gillespie, who's been optioned to AAA. Right now, as I'm looking at these stats, the Marlins have 3 starters who have started at least 6 games, whose ERA is over 8. Cal Quantrill, Connor Gillespie, Sandy Alcantara. Of course, the outlier there is Sandy Alcantara. I don't expect that ERA to be 8 for the entire season, but I'm worried about him. I'm worried about the long-term effects from Tommy John surgery and if he can ever get back to the same pitcher we saw in his Cy Young season. But the other two, Connor Gillespie, Cal Quantrill, the Cal Quantrill signing has been an objective disaster for the Marlins. They get swept on Wednesday against the Dodgers. Who started that game? Cal Quantrill. Couldn't get out of the 4th inning. Luckily, the Marlins have an off day on Thursday. It allows their bullpen to rest and recover. Their bullpen is one of the most overworked staffs in all of baseball, and it takes a toll. It's going to continue taking a toll on this team. They're going to have to make some pitching moves, get some fresh arms. Right now, it's just they're being thrown into the fire. Clayton McCullough has no choice except to burn through arms when his starter isn't giving you any depth. Back-to-back nights. Can't get through the third inning with Sandy Alcantara. Can't get through the fourth inning with Cal Quantrill. That's not going to cut it at the major league level. It's a liability to the rest of the pitching staff, to the rest of the team. McCullough has one hand tied behind his back when operating this pitching staff. I'm not going to sit here and blame him for bringing in guys when you're getting blown out, when your pitching staff when your starters don't give you a shot to win. You got to give yourselves a shot. When Ryan Weathers comes back, Yori Perez, that is going to be a huge breath of fresh air for the Marlins. But also, it's not just them. They also have guys in AAA. How about Adam Mazur? Adam Mazur has pitched great to start the season in AAA. He has major league experience. He should get up here and get a shot in the majors. Jansen Junk, you signed him. He's got really good stuff. The stuff is elite. You look at that fastball. That is a major league fastball right there. Hard, has a ton of movement, a lot of vert. Jansen Junk can give you some innings. And then in AA, one of your prized prospects, Robbie Snelling, I think you're going to see him at some point this season. Look, it's a 162-game season. It's a long year for the Marlins. It's only been a month. You're going to have your ups and downs when it comes to the pitching staff, but it really can't get much worse than this. Cal Quantrill, just a disaster of a free agent signing. How much longer do you put up with it? You signed him to be an innings eater, but he's not doing that. Not only is he being ineffective, I could live with Cal Quantrill going 5-6 innings and giving up 4 runs. I can live with that. If his ERA is a 5 right now, but he's giving your rotation a consistent 5 or 6 innings a night, I can live with that. But they don't have either. And it's really affecting this team. A couple bullpen pieces I just don't see a future with. George Soriano, what are we doing here? 16 innings, 9.37 ERA. He is the fallback guy. He's the guy that Clayton turns to when the game's out of hand and says, go out there, throw 55 pitches, and just try to take us to the finish line. George Soriano has been terrible. He should never be pitching in a high leverage situation. The bullpen, when it comes to high leverage situations, is kind of down to Cal Quantrill, kind of down to Lake Bacher, Anthony Bender, Calvin Fauché, and Jesus Tanoka. But the return of Declan Cronin and Andrew Nardi are also going to be very important for this pitching staff as the year continues. They're going to provide some relief and some fresh arms to this pen and allow a little bit of the pressure to be taken off the shoulders of those guys I just mentioned for the rest of the season. It's been a breakout year for Max Meyer. Got to give him credit. He's been awesome. But I need more. I need some improvement. And I want to see some new starters in this rotation soon. Hopefully that's sooner rather than later with Ryan Weathers and Yori Perez in the next couple of months. Let's talk about the City Connects before we wrap this up here. Here is a picture. I'm going to pull it up on screen if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, I'm just going to describe it, share my thoughts. I'm sure you've already seen it. These are the new City Connect uniforms for the Marlins. It's very similar to the Leaks. You have the classic font across the chest. Miami, it's got the teal, you got the pink, and that hat, a really unique hat with the 305 across it and the fish over the 0. A lot of people didn't like the hat. And at first, I didn't really like the jerseys as a whole, but I do now. I seen them on the players, Sandy Alcantara here modeling the jersey. I think it's a pretty cool idea. I actually do like the font. I think it's cool that it pays homage to Marlins teams of the past, the traditional Florida Marlins. And the hat is certainly unique. I do like it. I like the uniqueness of it, and I like the color scheme. I like that brim with a mixture of the teal and the hot pink. So creative, innovative, and you're going to see these uniforms this weekend against the Oakland Athletics. No, not the Oakland Athletics, just the Athletics right now. But they will be making their debut. Overall, I think it was a well-done job. I wasn't a huge fan of the Sugar Kings jerseys, but I do think these are better. I like the black. I like the teal. I like the colors as a whole. And that font, you could have went with a more modern font. I would have liked that too, but I understand why they went with the classic font, and I respect that, and I like it, and I do like the hats. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. Now, for your second listen of the day, go check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night. It's over on the Locked On MLB channel, every game, every night, over there with Sully, the host over there. But for Friday's episode, we're going to do a Locked On crossover podcast with Locked On A's. So preview the A's Marlins series. That's going to be a fun one, and that will be out Friday. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.